4th meeting of the Trumbull Water Pollution Control Authority. It is 7:01, and I'm asked the clerk to call the roll, please.
If I may, it is 6:01.
6:01, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Frank Regnieri,
Here.
Tom Kelly,
Here.
Peter Gelderman,
Here.
John Green,
Here.
and Bruce Elstein. We have a quorum.
For those of you who read the meeting minutes from the last meeting, I call for a motion to approve in a second, please.
So moved.
To the chair, I mean, actually, Paul, can you promote Christine Kurtz, who is in the audience, to a panelist?
We have a motion pending. I need a second.
I can second, although I can't vote. I wasn't there.
Tom, you were there, right?
No, at the last meeting, I was not there.
Well,
But it can be seconded.
okay.
I'll second.
We'll go.
I'll be happy to
call
second.
for, so we'll have 2 abstentions and I'll call for a vote, John and I, for
Yeah.
approval. The motion passed. I'm going to open the public hearing, and ask if anybody is, can we open the hearing to the public, please?
You just do it by stating that time, yep, that you opened it.
Okay, and I've asked if anybody's present and would like to speak, if they could raise their hand option, and the IT department will bring them into the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see anybody from the public except for Christine as an attendee.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and the time is 6:04. In the I don't know if all of you had gotten a chance to review the rates. I saw them last week. We can go through them briefly.
Was there a typo in there on the first one?
No, I asked the same thing, John, when I saw him last week. Bill, why don't you explain that first residential sewage rate? I mean, Bill got the Bridgeport approved rates, and that's the driver behind the rate change.
So, yeah, Bridgeport reduced their rate this year from 6.72 to 6.488. Currently, our rate is 6.478. It's a matter of going up a penny a CCF to match the Bridgeport rate.
So that was good news. And Bill was telling me we no longer have a discount on the Bridgeport rates. So going forward, we'll be at the mercy of the Bridgeport Commission, but they have to answer to the public as well. So, and I don't know how many years are left, Mr. Nugent, to the contract.
2, I think.
2. Okay.
2 with a possible extension beyond that to 5, is it, Jim?
3.
3.
Well, it's +3, which means 5 total is what I meant. Is that correct?
Right. 2 left plus the 3-year extension at our option.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought.
And I couldn't find anything on the status of the Bridgeport project, their capital improvement for their combined sewer overflow, addressing that issue. So I don't know, Bill, if you have any status on that, but that's going to be a driver of rates in the future. We've had that discussion at previous meetings. The other rates that are proposed are the same as they were, and they are the industrial commercial sewage rate, which Bill tells me Bridgeport doesn't make that differentiation, but we do. It'll be $7.7.156 per 100 cubic feet. And then there'll be a flat rate treatment per quarter of 176. Bill, explain what the flat rate treatment is.
The flat rate treatment's for people who are on wells. And we charge actually the flat rate for people who don't hook up that are supposed to hook up.
Okay. Then the unit charges, and I think earlier this year we had gone through these and had a public hearing and approved them, but I'll go through them anyway. They're the same rates proposed for next year, this coming year as last year. A residential maintenance fee per quarter is $34. Commercial maintenance fee per unit per quarter is $35. And that fee per unit is a calculation, the number of units, right, Bill? Or,
Yes.
and then the developer installed unit charge, so that's for new hookups like an apartment building. The number of units would be 3,500. And the sewer permit fee is $75. So from I guess it's open for discussion amongst the commissioners. Does anybody have any questions or? No questions, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the rates and a second. Thank you, Peter. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Tom. Vote for unanimous consent. Margaret, the motion passed.
Thank you.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed for next year. I'm now going to turn it over to Bill. Bill's going to talk to you about a situation with the trefoil pump station.
Yes, we've had we have an emergency repair we need to do to the trefoil pump station. We had the outflowing line for the force out of the wet well has rotted away, and it connects to the valve vault. And in order to change it, we need to bypass the station. So we need to install a bypass connection. We also have electrical problems. That was probably the start of everything. Last week when we had that thunderstorm go through, we've lost right now we're only running on one float instead of high level, low level, and auxiliary. So we have one pump that's operational, but we need to have two pumps operational. The electrical portion and the mechanical portion of this need to be addressed ASAP. I have a not to exceed price of $150,000 from Kovacs, who is doing our pump station at Old Town Reservoir in Beardsley. I think that's the best solution at this moment.
So you're going to replace the entire guts of the system plus a new control panel, Bill? Is that the plan?
Yes, so we have to repipe the outflowing pipe. We have to put in a bypass manhole and then a bypass connection for a bypass pump, which should always have been there in the first place, only because pump stations have problems and you need to bypass them.
And you'll put in new pumps? Is that part of the
Yeah,
price?
well, we should probably upgrade the pumps and the control panel.
I
And what
agree.
did you say the quote was on the price? Not to exceed what?
150,000.
That actually seems low to me for the amount of work you're talking about
Well,
doing.
because we're not replacing the wet well or the valve pit. We are putting in new valves, and new check valves. This isn't a huge station. This has a 4-inch, uh, force main. The pumps are actually on the small side.
Okay, I mean, it seems like you're replacing everything but the shell, so almost would have expected more.
Time wise, it's it's not the it's not the Old Town or the Reservoir pump station. You know, we don't need to replace the bypass the standby generator.
Bill, all those parts are available?
They're more available than all the bigger ones that we have, like at Beersley and Reservoir and Old Town. This is smaller equipment. This is roughly, you know, the pumps are like 155 gallons a minute, where when you're talking Reservoir, you're talking, you know, or Beersley, you're talking 11,000 gallons a minute. So the magnitude is completely different.
And Bill was telling me that they're like 5 horsepower pumps and they're not 3-phase and they don't have all the fancy, they don't need the variable frequency drives and all those other things that a larger pump station would get.
Okay,
Because it took a long time to get those pumps that we got from overseas someplace, right? I mean, how long was that?
Those are flight pumps.
Yeah, those are big flight pumps. These are little flight pumps.
Yeah, yeah. And I know, I understand the size difference. I just, huge difference.
The problem is that this services, you know, Hinkle, Trefoil Drive, YMCA, the Rock and Jump, the printer over there. Amazon actually flows over here to this.
all
For
right.
for that much commercial square footage, it seems small, but I guess it's sized correctly. You never had a problem with flow rates.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at that, you know, before we pull the plug on everything, but we'll confirm that we should probably increase the size of the pumps a little bit, but I don't think that they're significantly undersized.
But this isn't, well, actually, it includes Amazon. I'm surprised. So is this
Amazon
all-
pumps up to it. This is on the corner of Trefoil and Spring Hill. Amazon pumps up Spring Hill, across the Pequannock on the bridge, and then all the way up to Trefoil.
So the project that is going in on the Monroe border,
That goes gravity.
line, right? That's on the line that goes behind the gardening shop there, right?
Right,
I mean,
that's correct. That's correct.
okay. Okay, so it's unlikely to be any great increase in capacity on this thing. I mean,
Right.
going forward. Okay.
And I think, John, those houses across the street from that proposed mixed-use development where they're gonna put the gravity line behind that garden place. I think it's called Pond Springs. There's houses there that can eventually connect, but then, like Bill said, it's not going through this pump station.
Okay, that's why I was surprised by Amazon was actually. I didn't realize that.
So currently there is a line that development on Main Street had to extend the main through the Warren Jakes property there. Long Hill, tree
Yes.
service there.
Mhm.
He has not moved forward with any of that. That's still, you know, none of that has been done. I imagine when and if that does come a reality, that Amazon will probably connect into it. instead of having a pump station of their own.
But that line, at the time you indicated didn't really have any significant capacity issues, right? So
Right.
if they choose to do so, all that will do is actually lessen the demand on this trefoil.
That's
trefoil
correct.
station.
That's correct.
Okay. Out of curiosity, so what was my memory back when we did talk about Reservoir and Old Town? What were those stations called? I know you've already said this is an order of magnitude difference. What did we end up paying on those approximately?
For the two stations were roughly about 3 million.
Yeah, that was my memory. There's this, we're talking about an order of magnitude difference per station on this one.
So
Okay. Which is
just to
why I
give
was
you an
surprised.
idea that the Reservoir pump station pumps about 300,000 gallons a day. Whereas this is probably somewhere in the magnitude of 40,000. So
Okay, and this one really though is something that needs to be done sooner rather than later from the, I mean, this is
Yeah,
not something we can treat as a capital project. You're saying this has got to be treated as as an essentially emergency repair project.
yes, we can't go without the second pump. And if that line rots away on the other pump, we're gonna have a big mess.
How long will it take to get the bypass in? Because I assume that's your first step, right?
Yeah, that's the first step. And the piping has to be ordered, the valves have to be ordered, but they're pretty much stock items. So we should be, weeks away to get this up and done.
And if all hell breaks loose and you lose that other pump, you'd have to rent one of those temporary bypass pumps, a Goodwin pump or one of those kind of pumps.
So we have our own little bypass pump,
Oh, great.
but you need to be able to hook it into something, and there's nothing
No
to hook it
bypass.
into.
Okay.
So
So we need to figure a bypass a setup anyway, is what you're
Right.
saying.
Right, you really, that was a goal of all the projects, was to put bypass connections to all these, because, all you have to do is have something like this happen and you need to bypass it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, in general, I'd rather treat these things where we could actually go out and do a quote on these things. But if we're running on one pump in a 2-pump station, that we're asking for trouble.
Right.
Sure.
Um,
When are they available to start, Bill? Call back.
They're available to start as soon as I give them the go ahead.
Okay.
Hopefully tomorrow. Any other questions? And Bill, they're going to do this on a T&M basis, so
Yes.
and who will monitor those costs? Your department?
Yep, our department.
Okay. I don't have any. I think we need to do this. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve this emergency expenditure.
Should say not to exceed 150, right?
not
Yeah, for $150,000.
Well, not to exceed. Yeah.
Not to exceed.
Yes.
John, have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Peter seconded. Margaret. If I have a vote of unanimous consent, raise the hands. Margaret, the motion passed. Bill, you're good to go. Of course,
Okay.
you'll have to coordinate with purchasing.
Yeah.
So old business. Bill, can you give us an update on the Old Town and Reservoir pump stations?
The Old Town Reservoir Pump Station, the reservoir, they're putting the fencing in. We got the one pump that was missing is installed and running. So we're weeks away from finishing that completely. Old Town Road, they put the pumps in yesterday, they're wiring them up. We should have that pump station running completely in a couple weeks. So we're coming down to the end.
And what will they do? Restore everything in September, August?
Yeah, I mean, they got the driveway to do, they have fencing to put up, they have, front yard to fix. They have some telephone poles that have to come down, some temporary service to go away. They have a good month of work there. But getting that station in and going is great.
Yeah, it's taken a while.
Yes, it has.
Anybody have any questions, Bill, on those two items? If not, can you give us an update, Bill, on the Old Town Force Main, which I guess, was approved to go forward last meeting?
Yeah, so the force main, they've white lined the path of the force main on Old Town Road. They're gonna start saw cutting the end of this week. They expect to be fully mobilized in 2 weeks. They're waiting for pipe to come in.
Is this Old Town Force Main? I assume it's coming out of this Old Town pump station?
It is.
So you said they're gonna start cutting in 2 weeks?
They start cutting this week just to get prep for it. They're waiting for pipe to come in. We've posted on our website the detours and, public notice. We
Yeah,
actually,
so-
we did a mailing to all the people in the vicinity in Trumbull and Bridgeport.
Or you're gonna have to detour the road?
Yeah, actually, it's a very large detour, most of the detour routes in Bridgeport.
Yeah, that was the one, there was a Plan A and a Plan B detour or something. I saw it.
There's a
It's
couple
around-
of different phases. There's a couple
Yeah.
different phases. The goal here is to try to keep traffic as normal as possible. But we can't not detour. We can't allow, single lane because all the work is in the center of the road. It's, how do you have a tractor trailer going by a trench that's in the middle,
Okay,
But they expect to be, finish the trenching by the end of September. And to have it permanently paved by the end of the paving season, at the end of this paving season.
So this runs down Old Town all the way to the stop sign and then,
Turns right, goes up the hill, and then turns left from Topsy Hill
Yeah.
there.
yeah,
It goes, if you go further up Old Town, it's before you get to Red Oak on Bridgeport side.
okay.
It's a little better than a half a mile.
It's a pretty crowded neighborhood on that road.
yeah.
Good luck.
I was just thinking about when school starts, whether there's gonna, any issues with,
Yeah, so yeah, we've had to clue in Bridgeport and Trumbull school systems. Their school buses have to go by. Because you can't change where the school bus, the students get on the school bus. So
Oh, it says
we'll have to,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
we'll have to accommodate school buses. We do that in every project, no matter
Mm.
what, even when we did it on Strobel Road too.
Isn't the art center over there or whatever they call it, the school?
The CES,
Yeah.
continuing ed, and,
Oh, yeah, there's a art charter school or something.
yes, that's over there on Oakview.
And it's not, is their access affected or?
They have access through Lindeman. Reservoir to Lindeman to Oakview.
Okay,
Cambridge we have another problem with Cambridge is a dead end that comes straight off of Old Town over there.
Mm.
And there's a dialysis center over there. There's a bypass between the properties that we're using for a detour over there also. But we'll accommodate traffic the best we can.
okay.
And this is the project with a pretty hefty allowance for traffic, right? For police
Yes.
departments, both police departments?
Both police departments.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions about Old Town, or we'll move on to Williams Road?
I got nothing new on Williams Road. I know that Wright Pierce was in contact with DOT asking for information, but that's as far as I know at the moment. They're looking for boring information from the original project.
Who was Wright Pierce?
Yeah, Wright Pierce asking the Parkway, the DOT, if they had any records of the borings in that area from the original project.
I'll be impressed if they can get those.
Yeah,
Yeah. When was the highway was built, in the 40s or 30s?
30s.
Um, okay, moving on. I assume that the state isn't giving us a hard time, and the gravity line that's going through the existing culvert is brand new, so we have time.
Yes.
So moving on, Trumbull Town Center. I don't know, Jim, whether you should talk about this or explain what there's been a delay, and I guess what I know from reading the paper, the zoning approved the development of Trumbull Center, but there's been there was something in the approval that the developer didn't like, and he's gone in for he's appealed it. So I don't know how long that takes, but as part of that, they've asked for a 6-month extension to put in the pump station. So, and as refresh memory, but Bill, what do we estimate that how many 1,000 gallons a day are going through that pump of water infiltrating into the system?
At the time that we looked at it, Wright Pierce said it was probably about 220 gallons a minute. It's a significant amount.
220 gallons a minute.
Just to put that in
That's about
perspective,
200,000 a day, right?
no, it's 220 gallons a minute.
Right, and
My
Okay,
pump
but-
station in Trefoil is 155 gallons a minute, just to give
Right,
you an
so
idea.
220 gallons a minute, 13,200 gallons an hour. And by 24 hours, it's 300,000 gallons a day.
That's
Yes,
Yep.
more or less.
more or less.
That's a pretty severe issue. I don't know how long we should be willing to wait. I know they want to tie it into the building because that's where they wanted to put the electronics, right? That was the issue. Yes, no.
Yes.
They do have an option, John. They could fix the pipe that's there. I mean, I think we gave them all the locations where it's leaking.
Look, let me just sum this up a little bit for everyone. Planning and zoning approved the project. The stores out in front there where along White Plains Road, they used to be occupied, which are now papered up, and it looks like it's been abandoned. They required that to be knocked down and used for green space. Although the developer knew about that and that it was going to be a requirement of the approval or condition of the approval for half a year or whatever, they went to ZBA. They're trying to get some variances over there, which have yet to be approved. There's a building in the back, which is the office building. They want a variance for both these buildings, that if they take them down now and they don't ultimately get all the approvals they need, because there's things with because of the floodplain, right? They need FEMA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
FEMA approval back there. If they don't get it, they want the right to rebuild. So they want variances to that effect. That's more the driving force about this. I think the green space is a non-issue, but they've chosen not to go ahead with the project that they have that was approved. In the meantime, I see this as a separate and distinct issue. There's a jeopardized pipe back there. It's failing. Right now, as far as we know, water is entering. But I don't know how we can conclusively determine that sewage is not exiting that pipe. It could get worse. It could fail totally. Sewage could fill the stream. It would be a disaster. We gave them 7 months from our meeting in January, which brings them to approximately the third week of August, to just start construction. They want another 6 months, which brings them well into 2025 to start. My strong recommendation is that it be denied, and that we need a solution for that pipe, whatever they want to do. There's more than one option, and Bill, you've identified the options before. I mean, the sleeve and repair or pump station or whatever the case may be. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's my,
Is there, Jim, is
Right.
there any reason the town can't do the work and bill them? Assess them for the cost?
I suspected that was, going to be identified as an option, but I couldn't really find specific authority that says we can certainly do the work, but specific authority that says we can then bill them for the cost.
I don't have the statute open. I thought that we can, it's their pipe. Well, I don't know off the top of my head the answer to that, but if we could, let's just hypothetically say we could. Is that something that we could bill them? But could we do the work? Do we have the ability to go in there and get that done quickly? Would we have to contract that out? Would we have to?
We
We'd
would,
have to go out to bid, we'd have to do all that stuff, so it would
Yeah.
take a while, presumably.
it would. I mean, we could get a bid together quickly enough, but I don't know what the best solution is in terms of how to go about addressing the problem. Bill, I mean,
Let me ask the question this way. They don't do it. What punitive authority do we have?
Shut them
What
down.
happens if they don't do it?
well, you can't, there's nothing to shut down though, I don't think. I mean, we have to order them to do it, right? I mean, it's got to be in order to repair,
What do you-
replace the pipe.
What do you mean? What happens if it was a restaurant somewhere that its sewer pipe broke and they didn't repair it and they just continued to just pump sewage into the environment? You wouldn't shut them down. You I would think you'd close it down, close the business down, close the sewer down.
But is that our authority or the health department's authority?
It might be DEEP's authority, especially since there's a water course there.
Good point.
Yeah, I think we bent over backwards to give them 7 months to start because I had concerns at least that if construction lagged, then the pump station would lag because it's attached to the building, or it's adjacent to. I mean, they could still put a pump station in, they just have to put it somewhere else. At least the controls for it, away from, get it out of the parking lot or whatever. So Jim, if we deny this, what's the next steps? You get with Bill and send him a letter and tell him to fix their broken pipe?
Well, yeah, no, remember the commission's purpose tonight, the only thing before it is a request for an extension. You're either going to grant, deny, or modify in some respect and grant. But the solution then, yeah, that is the next step, of course, depending on what the decision is. But if the decision is to deny, Bill, I know we can consider contracting out the work if we can, as long as we're certain we can collect that amount from the owner. But I think they need something in the nature of a cease and desist order, that either they stop the effluent into the pipe and or they repair the pipe.
I mean, I would like to think that we could address this without it being necessarily a contentious situation, but it's hard to imagine that this request could come tonight without somebody being present to ask questions to or to discuss this with, because in the absence of that, we're discussing this without even their representative here. But let me ask this question to Bill, if I may, and that is that if this was all discovered because we were, looking at the approval of this as part of the approval of the planning and zoning application, prior to going to planning and zoning, it had to be approved by the WPCA. But if this had been discovered in any other way, let's say that it had just been discovered for some other reason, not because they were putting in an application to planning and zoning, but what would the action have been, since they're the ones that own the pipe? What would the action that the WPCA would have taken to address this or remediate it, if it wasn't in the context of a planning and zoning approval?
So I would think that we would make them fix it, even without it being a planning and zoning application. If we discovered it, we'd want them to fix that, especially at this kind of rate. I mean, we're not talking a couple of gallons an hour, we're talking a significant amount.
Because if we deny this extension tonight, it seems to me that they lose their zoning approval, because now the WPCA approval has been removed, because we had set that condition as part of our approval.
That's absolutely correct, Tom. The approval was conditioned on construction starting within 7 months of the date of approval in January. So it's not, again, they have another month. They file it to, it's on the agenda tonight. Technically, the 7 months are up the third week of August. But
could Tom makes a good point. They're not here. We don't know their thoughts. So, I would think that they have until the end of August. If we defer our consideration of this extension and say that, we want town attorney and town engineer to meet with their representatives and come up with a workable solution. And if there's no workable solution at the end of, our next meeting in September, we can then deny the extension.
Well, they'll already be in
That's
violation by then.
that's an extension, so you're giving them.
It's in essence a 30-day extension if we don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the alternative is, and this is, goes into, it's a legal question. We can just deny it. And then next steps, what would you do?
Look,
maybe you don't want to talk about it in a public hearing, but
no, listen, you can deny the extension. If they want to go ahead with that project, they're just going to have to come back to the WPCA for another approval. Hey, I mean, it's not an insurmountable burden for them to reapply for their connection. Look, they're ignoring this. So it wasn't like and the town is the one that sent the camera through to find out what the problem was. They didn't do anything. They've done nothing. And Bill, maybe you should relate about the issue about the tenants couldn't.
Yeah.
Was so clogged with water, they couldn't send anything out.
Right. In one of the big storms, they were having a sewer backup. They thought the sewer was clogged. It was just overcapacity.
clogged with the Pequannock River.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could deny the extension and then readdress it in September, so they can come back with
They can come back with whatever they want, but if the project doesn't proceed for whatever reason, there's still a major problem there.
Well,
And that's the priority, I think, Jim, is to figure out what we can do to force them to fix the problem or pay for it. I think that's the priority. We don't really care about their project. The project was a way to solve the problem if it went forward. But if it's in limbo indefinitely, and it looks like it is, I think our priority needs to be to figure out a way to force that property owner to repair their sewer.
I agree.
And off the top of my head, I mean, I haven't had that problem come up in any of our towns I represent, so I don't know. But I'd be happy to help, try to find what that
Yeah.
recourse might be.
I appreciate that, Pete. I will look also in more detail, but I forgot that thought just went right out of my head. Like I said, they have another month. They're not technically in violation yet. They will be. I mean, they've never come in for a building permit, but they have other options to address the pipe. They don't have to build a pump station. That was their decision, and it made sense with their project.
With their project.
So let me ask a question this way. Can we vote tonight to authorize Jim and Bill, or do we even need to, that as of the day of 7 months plus 1 day, they're authorized to send a cease and desist? Is that what we need to do?
Well, it wouldn't be a cease and desist, it would be a revocation. It would be notice that the condition of the approval hasn't been met and the approval's void.
You're right,
Well,
Pete, on that part of it, but I mean for the pipe. though.
Void,
for the
but
pipe.
there's still an action, something that needs to be remediated regardless of the approval. As Jim said, if this project never, or somebody said, maybe Peter said it, this project just goes into limbo indefinitely or doesn't happen at all, they still have to resolve this problem. So that's why I don't know if the cease and desist was the proper language, but do we authorize,
Well,
some?
we can't have them to continue to use this line if it's bringing in 300,000 gallons of river water into the sewer treatment system. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
a massive amount of water.
economically wasteful that they're not paying for, and it's harmful to the environment too. And we don't know in a if there's a dry season, which doesn't seem to be that dry this summer, maybe the flow reverses and goes out. So Jim, you're saying is if we deny, then once it hits August 27th, on the 28th, there's a letter that goes out, revokes the prior approval because they didn't meet the conditions of the permit, of the approval.
That's one step, yes. But the second step is that, when I say cease and desist, I mean, you can phrase it different ways, but they have to cease allowing their pipe to continue. This
But that's
flow
what
of
I was
water.
saying is, can we actually take a proactive action to authorize that? Or do we need to?
Well, I don't think we need to. We just deny what I'm
Well-
hearing is we could deny the extension at this meeting. Then
Correct.
Attorney Nugent will give them a letter on if they don't do anything and they don't start construction. I mean, for all we know is they may start construction.
Well, but there's a difference between a letter that says your approval for the future project has been revoked and a letter that says, by the way, you have to take action, affirmative action on this existing issue. And that's my question is, do we have to authorize some sort of affirmative action? Or demand for affirmative action? And that, I think, is really Jim's department to tell us what we need to do here.
I think we could do that. I don't know that it's really essential that you authorize me to do it, but we can certainly vote on it and authorize it so that there's no question. I will add parenthetically, though, that the owner has not conceded that it's their pipe. So remember, this issue did come up in the past. So
Well,
haven't-
maybe
that may be a contest on that point. But Bill and I have looked at that carefully. This goes way back to when Trumbull Center was first built, shortly thereafter. And
Well, if it was our fault, we'd have an easement for maintenance on it, wouldn't we? We don't have such a thing, do we?
So if I may, the part of it is, part of that pipe is in, Cinto's ownership. And Trumbull Center has an easement for that pipe, not the town of
Cinto,
Trumbull.
does
So doesn't
Cinto's
that-
property use that pipe?
No,
No. So he just gave them an easement or gave the town an easement?
no, he gave them an easement, Trumbull Center.
property
So
owner.
how do they deny ownership if they have
So
an
why do
easement?
we own it if we don't have the easement?
That's our point.
Yeah, there's a little, if you're playing devil's advocate, there's some language in the very old transfer. What does it Bill do? I guess it was the former owner of the land there.
Yes.
I guess when they were building Trumbull Center, and
Yeah.
it's not something that I'm concerned about legally, but that's what they're looking at as some basis of an argument. So
Well,
the sooner we get it resolved, the better.
they could come back and use it as their defense for not fixing it, saying it's not our pipe, it's yours. We
They
agree, fix your pipe. And then we end up where?
Spending a lot of money. What happens if we cap it? If it's our pipe, where would the people who use it, would they have an alternative? Would the
Yeah,
people
they'd be
who are
out of-
using it now have to do a pump station to bring it to White Plains Road?
Yes, he would.
So there's an option for us.
We just don't let them
People
use
that
it
are, the
anymore.
people, you say the people using it, you mean the tenants?
Tenants,
The
yeah.
tenants.
Not that there's many left, but there's still a few there.
There's still a few, and you know, if we cap the pipe, they'd have to find an alternative, and
They'd
their
be out of-
landlord would have to do that.
Yeah, that's now getting into the realm of, I mean, I would imagine they'd be in court the next day saying, we're asking for a restraining order to prevent us from doing that, because that prevents them from doing business.
Yeah, well, they could bring in
Then-
they could bring in some Baker tanks and put the sewage in the Baker tanks and then pump the Baker tanks up into White Plains Road.
Yeah, and then effectively, we've just closed the last remaining businesses in Trumbull Center. Because I can't imagine that's happening.
So we open ourselves up for a business interruption claim.
Well,
I think the real issue here is, I see no reason to believe we have ownership of this pipe unless we have no easement to maintain it. There's no logical argument to me that we own this pipe. I think the only issue is, do we make a demand that they fix it?
I strongly recommend you do.
well,
and the
So
question,
we
do that
we
now, or do we wait until September?
Do it now.
we could say we deny their motion and we direct Bill and town council to take
Seek
steps to
enforcement.
resolve,
Right.
seek resolution with the whatever means that takes to get it resolved and get it fixed. Because we cannot allow the water to keep coming into this pipe.
Yeah, I'm absolutely opposed to any extension. So I'm fine with that. We authorize Jim and Bill to, pursue resolution effective, whatever the date is, 7 months plus 1 day. I have no problem with that.
is there some reason they can't construct their pump station notwithstanding their project status? I mean, I don't know how much it would cost, and I understand they want to do it in conjunction with the project, but they have that alternative anyway. They have our approval to build a pump station and hook into White Plains Road.
Yeah, they could do that. The only issue they'd have, I think, is they were going to use the garage as the location for the electronics. The control station for the pump station, but that was the only tie into the building, if I remember correctly. Bill, is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So they could
But-
build something temporary to house the electronics, could they not?
They could build a pump station like we have, like trefoil. You know,
Absolutely, freestanding, all not connected to anything.
just out of it's just got to be out of the control station and the generator have to be out of the floodplain.
Yep.
It's done all the time. And that would probably be the more economical solution anyway.
Because they
Trying to
need that.
fix the pipe.
Yeah, and if their project does happen to go forward someday, it's in place.
That's right.
Correct.
Look, and Bill, when you sent the camera through, I know the pipe was under a lot, the water pressure is strong, but you know, it's conceivable they could put the sleeve through if they were able to, you know, deal with the water pressure issue, right?
Conceivably, that they might be able to, yes.
I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's conceivably an option.
Yeah, so if they don't think their project's gonna happen, they need to repair it. It's okay, fine.
Really? That's it.
So just taking a step back on that, yeah, I mean, you know, when we cambered it, it was in the winter time when we probably had high flow. I mean, summertime, he's probably gonna get, you know, typically August is the low flow, you know, rain time. Might be the best time to fix this and not wait until 6 months from now. When you're back in the higher flow. If that's possible to line it like that.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, so we need to so we're gonna have a motion to we deny the developer's request for an extension, and we direct the town engineer and town attorney to work with the developer to get this resolved immediately. Or get this repaired immediately.
Immediately. Another option is to approve the extension with a condition that in the interim, the pipe gets repaired. And then if he doesn't repair it, the conditions give him, I don't know how long you need to do that, whether it's 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is, but condition any extension on a temporary fix of the pipe. I know they don't want to do that because they want to avoid doing both, a repair and then build a pump station, but they're the ones asking for an extension. If they want to extend it, they got to fix the pipe, otherwise it's denied.
could do either. It's just that
So we deny the extension and tell them, or we approve an extension, but they have to, but it's conditioned on them immediately repairing the leaking pipe
Right.
and to have it complete within 90 days.
And then they don't have to come back to us in 6 months
Right.
to reinstate their approval. Otherwise, if it's not done, and that can't be, we won't extend the 90-day period to fix the pipe.
could do either. I think we just got to be specific about.
Well, again,
We mean like 100% completed to the satisfaction of the town engineer, right?
Yeah.
And that 90-day clock starts today, tomorrow, whatever. That's actually probably a better practice. I don't know if 90 days is the right time window, but if they take appropriate action to remediate the issue, the outstanding issue, we don't really care when they put the pump station in, assuming it's there before the project gets built. But other than that, we wouldn't have any reason to really care, right? I mean,
About the pump station, no, just about the pipe,
the remediation is really what we're asking for.
right?
In some form, they could build the pump station to remediate it, or they can just solve the pipe problem.
right.
I think Peter's got a good idea here. It's probably the better strategy.
So can we put some words around that, Peter, so that we can,
Yeah,
Margaret, you ready?
the motion would be to grant the request in their June 27th, 2024 letter to extend, it's really what they're extending, it's to extend our approval of the pump station construction for an additional 6 months on the condition that the existing pipe is repaired to the satisfaction of the town of Trumbull or the town engineer's office within 90 days, maybe even put a date down there. Today is July 24th, August, September, October, 25th or whatever that date would be. That either the pipe is remediated or a pump station is installed within 90 days. Otherwise, the extension's
Night.
not granted. And I think, and we reserve our right to take other action if necessary to whatever it might be to with respect to the pipe. I don't want them to think that they're because they might take the position, okay, fine, we don't have an extension. We'll just go back and when, at some point in time when the project's going forward. So kind of reserve our, I don't know if we need to put that in the motion. We have that right regardless. So I would just limit it to a conditional approval, that the pipe is remediated or a pump station is installed within 90 days.
Works for me.
Chooses, I suspect an 89th day, we'll find out that nothing has happened, but
I
Again.
don't disagree with that, but every
Maybe,
time we
maybe,
give it,
maybe we can
That's why I'm
condition
wondering
it.
whether 90 or
but-
60 is better.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Maybe we can condition upon that you will start, you will submit to the town engineer your plans to either remediate or install the pump station within, by a date certain and have construction complete by November 1st. So have your plans, your plan to repair the pipe or install the pump station approved by the town engineer by, September 1st or something.
that
makes more sense.
An earlier deadline to get it moving.
yeah, I think that's great. And the failure to meet any condition results in a termination of the permit, of the approval.
Yes. And that the town reserves all its rights.
Is that, is clear motion, Margaret?
Yeah, I think what Frank just said, we have it on tape, was very clear.
Okay.
Okay,
So
good.
we got the 2 dates, September 1 and November 1. Was that right?
Right,
Yes.
September 1 for plans,
Plans.
November 1 for completion.
right. Failure to meet either deadline shall result in the approval being vacated,
Revoked, yeah.
revoked, better word.
So we got a motion on the floor.
I have
Actually, Dewey, is it Gelderman?
You say
Pardon?
that, again, Margaret?
Who made the motion?
It's I guess it's my motion. I'll make a
Okay.
motion. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we,
so then can I have somebody? Do we need a second?
I think so. Yeah.
We need a second.
We need
need
a
a
second.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we have a vote. Margaret, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
And the
Okay.
implication being that if they don't do anything on September 2nd, we're going to,
Well, we're gonna,
Well, then-
we're
then-
gonna revoke their approval. And
Vote
then,
their approval,
Oh,
but
we're not-
but the
we're
town
gonna- they're
the
going to
town
get a,
reserves its rights, right? I mean,
oh, yeah, take action,
Yeah.
but the revocation of our approval creates a zoning problem for them, even though they've taken an appeal. Now they don't have WPCA approval.
yeah. let's-
They can reapply whenever they want.
They
but-
can,
Yeah.
but, you know, it might not be so easy the next time.
No,
Maybe
it-
that'll be a topic for the
how's-
September meeting.
the P and Z approval was conditioned on WPCA approval.
That's right. So that there's a domino effect here.
Yeah, that's true.
how are the rental markets for apartments in Trumbull?
So it's been very strong so far.
Good. Yeah,
I don't know, I'm moving to Tennessee.
I think Tennessee was one of those states where it was voted like one of the best places to retire.
It is, yeah, it has been.
I've been there once. It's a nice state.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Can
are
I
we-
have? I think we can have a motion to adjourn unless somebody else has something they want to talk about.
Other than the fact that, since we don't have a meeting next month, I think, Peter, you're on your way out, right?
Oh,
That's
there's
right.
no meeting next month? Okay, then this is my last one.
Well, you
Well,
know what?
Unless
We're
we
gonna-
have one before September. When's the next meeting? When's the meeting in September?
Third week, the fourth week is the fourth Wednesday.
I probably will be no longer a resident of Trumbull by that date.
All right. Well, then thank you for your time.
Oh, it's
So
been
you're
my
set.
pleasure, guys.
Been great working with you,
Thank you.
Peter. You've been very helpful and you're contributing to the group. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So
All right.
So with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second.
Your last motion.
Yeah,
Sure.
John,
It's like-
second.
Yep.
Let's vote. Motion passed, Margaret. We'll see you all in September.
okay.
Thank
Peter, good luck.
Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate it.
Pete, I'll be in touch with you though about a couple of these things we talked about tonight though.
You got
All
it.
right, great. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Wow.